So is this tied into your YouTube?
Yeah, we're going right live to YouTube and my Facebook
Perfect.
page. We'll just wait till people jump on here. Hello, Wolf. Hello. Can you see the comments there, Ryan, or not?
I've been on private chat.
On the right, you should be able to click comments. And
yeah, there we go.
See the chat pop up. Sweet. Give everybody a few minutes. Hello, Wolf. What's going on?
Yeah, when I first started TikTok, Joey, the leaf picture that is on my Instagram, I tried that on my TikTok. They immediately banned me 4 times in a row. I appealed it. Within 30 minutes, they reinstated me. Banned, appealed, over and over and over.
Just for a picture of a plant.
Just for the leaf right here. Couldn't even tell what it was. Could have been a tree outside, Yeah.
And that's what they said. It was for the leaf.
For the leaf, yeah.
Interesting. Rachel, Marjorie, what's up? Good to see everybody. We got another episode of Alive with Joey, Raw, Open, Vulnerable, episode 2.0 with my boy Ryan from Seedstodreams. Yeah,
thank you.
This is a big milestone. You're on a special episode.
Well, thank you.
No pressure.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no pressure.
No, it's
sweating
good, man.
over here.
It's really good to have you, and I know my following, our following, is going to really just have some fun tonight, just talking about life. What are we talking about tonight? Rachel said. Well, we're going to jump into, I think, starting just by getting Ryan here to give us a little introduction on who he is and kind of what he's about, what he's brought to social media. Yeah. What's up, man?
That's a big question. My name's Ryan. I don't really attach to labels. I'm just kind of a guy that comes on here and shares his story. I don't really know what I'm doing. There's no direction. It's more of just, I feel like the right people come to me at the right time, and it happens to be I have the right thing to say. So
when did you start noticing that? Like, because I know a lot of us here that will be joining us and who are here already, we've all been a little different throughout our life, a little more sensitive, maybe empaths, you want to call it, maybe just in tune. When did you start noticing that part of you? Like, people were just coming to you at the right time and you knew what to say. Was that always something you had, or?
No, well, I've always had it. Like, I've always known things. I've always been able to read people, read situations, but I didn't really put myself out there, share myself with the world, with other people. I was real closed off and just really nasty because of how I grew up and what I went through. But over time, once I broke out of that and kind of got out of college, started working in IT and kind of working on myself, that's when I don't know, I kind of came online, and just one step at a time, people just started giving feedback, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
So when you say nasty, because this show is going to push you a little bit into
that's fine.
That's into your story.
So I'm here,
and I just want you to know that this container that we have here is a pretty special one. But yeah, I'd like to know what you mean by it, because you said it with a little edge there. Nasty.
Yeah, because it's like when you access these memories, and you tap back into that emotion. I was in a really bad state mentally. I mean, spirit, just all around. When I say nasty, I mean the type of person you wouldn't want to sit next to, because you can't. They're unpredictable. They're just always causing problems.
Yeah. So what was your lifestyle like at the time?
Different phases. I mean, it depends on where you're looking specifically in my life, like which part of the timeline. But I mean, growing up, it was drugs and crime and fighting and running the streets and just doing things I shouldn't have been doing,
Damn. Okay. Yeah. This hits hard, because there wasn't much crime and on my end, but there was a stage of violence.
Yeah.
A big stage in my life where I wanted to fight people. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to be, I don't know what it was. And I still have that in me. Like, I'm still very capable of violence.
Yes.
Right. And I think it's almost, I don't know. I'm not ashamed of it, but there was a time in my life where it's like, go out to the bar, hang out with the boys, and be the first one to get into things if things got stupid.
Yep, that's the type of energy I'm talking about. I mean, even just talking about it right now, because I don't talk about it often, it's enough to make you just have to kind of reset, just breathe, because it brings up a lot from
yeah. So when you look back at yourself then, what do you feel now?
I'm grateful that
Yeah.
I made it out. First of all, that I'm even alive to talk with you, to breathe every morning. Um, it was just a huge lesson, and look at how much I bring to other people, you know?
So that's one thing I think as we continue evolving, it's the lessons, it's the lessons, it's the lessons. And some of them we learn over and over and over again. And I'm sure you've had many of those.
Yes.
What was if there was one big lesson, maybe not the biggest one, but if there's one that sticks out the most, like growing up, going through all that shit, what is it?
The biggest lesson.
Or a big one. It doesn't have to be the biggest,
Yeah,
but
because
one that
it
sticks out.
changes depending on, like the biggest lesson now is different from the biggest lesson, maybe even a week ago, my perspective would be different, I think overall it's how you put yourself out into the world, like the type of energy you put out, how you're operating, the way you're interacting with other people, your impact, your influence. Yeah.
Of course. So when you said, grateful to be alive, this isn't always something we tap into when we're younger. Grateful to be alive. You're just like, yeah, whatever, like whatever, dude.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
roll your eyes, like, yeah, it's just another day.
Right.
When was there a time in your life where like you understood that gratitude at a different level?
Yes. I've had multiple near-death experiences. All when I was little. Like the first one was probably 6, 7, 8 years old. Second one was 10, 11, 12, give or take. But the most impactful was like I was 15, and everything I thought I knew about reality was, you could compare it to like mushroom trips, acid,
Right.
yeah. And
So
it was full on, just I was here, then I wasn't, and then I was back. But a whole bunch happened within there. And it kind of taught me that what we think we know might not be true. And, what is really reality? What's life? What's death kind of theme. So.
care to jump into that moment when you were 15?
Yeah. I have some videos on it going way in depth. But overall, it's just I'll kind of recreate the scene. I was sitting there. I'll try to tap into it. So it's going to be a little ranty,
Sure. No, go.
So I'm sitting there. We're playing Xbox. It's Halo.
Yeah,
and it's like I was 15 at the time. So, my mind's all over the place. I'm thinking about the game. I'm thinking about my life. I'm thinking about everybody in the room, like multiple different things. So it's hard to say where I was at totally and emotionally, spiritually, but the entire right side of my body split down, and it felt like gravity was kind of pulling me into like this void of nothingness almost. It sounds insane, but
you're in a good place to talk about this.
Yeah.
You're good.
So I'm sitting there, I'm seeing what I've done every day. It's like the same routine over and over, and then all of a sudden I feel different. I'm here and now I'm not. I'm in this void of, I don't know, empty space. And that's when everything changed. It's like the people that were around were no longer them. The feelings that I had about myself weren't, everything. You're talking about your identity, your perspective on reality, what you thought you knew, who you thought you were, what you thought you were going to do in the next 5 minutes, that all changed. And it was like, okay, what even was all that? Ryan, was that even real? It's like kind of like when you wake up from a dream and you're like, whoa, that was crazy, and it felt extreme. It felt as real as this. And I could go on, but I came back, and that was like, I laid in bed for probably 4 or 5 days and just like, why am I even here? What do I even do? It's crazy.
So what was it? Do you feel happened? Like you're just playing Xbox and then you're fucking ripped.
You got to keep in mind that I was a traumatized kid. I'd been through, from 2 years old up until that point. This is 15. So almost 10 plus years of just psychological, emotional, physical abuse and just pure trauma. So who knows what was going on up there.
Was that in the household?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. My parents. Yeah. My dad was pretty abusive. My mom later on in the relationship, but my dad was really hands-on. Yeah.
My heart, I do this for a living, and I do a lot of therapy, right? I help a lot of people with that trauma, and it's heavy, man.
Yeah, it can be.
So what is that, if you don't mind me asking, do you have a relationship with them anymore, or has that grown, or how have you moved from that?
So after that experience, I mean, I didn't even touch the surface of it, and my delivery was terrible. But
Oh no, you're good.
after that experience, it was like, I mean, I was a completely different person. My parents, I kind of seen them in a different perspective. I separated. I was able to detach from the old me and step into something new. And I just knew like that I'm done with all this chaos over here. I'm going to just kind of create this new space, and hopefully something else will branch out of it. So 15, I left home and I started hopping couches, and I stayed with, some family friends, and I just tried to focus on school and make it out of, I don't know, what I thought was the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was just trying to reach for air. That's really all it was. During that time, my parents split, and then the house foreclosed. So they kind of went their separate ways, and I didn't talk to them for a good 10 years, give or take.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad and I still don't talk. I tried to text him, a year or so ago, but I don't even know if it's his number. And my mom, they drank and they chose alcohol over family. So,
right.
Yeah.
Whew. So from your couch surfing, from there, I'm going to kind of just keep you moving through this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no,
it's fascinating. And I just love hearing the story. And so you're couch surfing, you're getting through school. You're what, 15, you said?
15. Yeah.
You got a couple of years of school left.
Yep.
Did you graduate?
I did. My senior year, I was 18. I crammed in 3.5 years worth of credits. I took online classes after school. Like, it was like, hey, either you do it or that's it. Nobody's going to save you.
All right. So then where'd you go?
So that led me to Detroit, the hood, the worst part of where I mean, if I go through there now, if I even drive through the area, it's like, I mean, my first night there, I was laying in bed and I heard ricochets from gunshots flying, the whizzing, the snapping, the cracking. It was pretty intense.
Wow.
So yeah, I went from 15, left home, couch surfing, jumping around, graduated. And then after graduation, that's when I went to Detroit, because it was $350 a month,
Right. It just made sense financially.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I only hear about Detroit. I only hear about how rough it is.
Yeah. Even just thinking about it, I mean, I have some memories that, I mean, I'm over it. But it's still like, it's still some pretty intense energy. Yeah. When it's kind of like that fight or flight where you're always looking around like, what is going on, Yeah.
Wow. So were you working there? Like,
No, I was staying in Detroit, but I was working like all around. I would travel. It's IT. So it's like,
right.
We do residential and commercial. So it's, I drive wherever.
Okay. So then here we are, you're doing IT work in the hood in Detroit. I did not expect our conversation to go here, man.
There's a lot that I don't share. So people, they have no idea,
No, but I love that. And I hope you feel comfortable sharing, because it's really fascinating. And we have such different paths and we go through such different places. So here you are in Detroit. Your first night, you're hearing bullets ricochet. Where do you go from here? Like, what's the progression? Like, because you're what, 18, 19 there?
Yeah, I was 18, 19. I prayed, not like, hey, God save me, but I'm like, oh, like, what is even going on? But it's like, what do I do? I'm here. And you got to keep in mind, I have that experience from being 15. So, death is like, what even is it? So
are you even scared of it? Are you scared to die at 18 years old?
No, not really. I mean, like, there's different layers. So it's like, in one sense, yes, but no, no, because I know that there is potential for more. I've experienced something else. It's like, that feels just as real. Right. And also, it's just like, who knows anyways,
Wow. And Heather Heather's saying she grew up there till she was 5, moved due to gun violence outside her house.
Yeah, I mean, even 4th of July, I mean, like, you can expect it 4th of July, New Year's and stuff, but you can go on YouTube and, like, just search Detroit New Year's and it sounds like a war zone. Everybody's outside their I mean, I could look down the block and where there wasn't abandoned houses, because I was surrounded by abandoned houses.
Right.
The people were just outside in their front yard, full on assault rifles, just up in the air.
What?
Nonstop. Yeah, it's literally like a third world country. It's
like
crazy.
the Wild Wild West. Like,
yeah,
just
like insane.
lawless.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I only hear the stories. I've never spent time there. I had a friend spend some time there, but wow. So it's just blowing me away. So you said something interesting when you said I prayed. So I want to ask you, at that time in your life, what was your connection to God or the universe, source? What was that? What did that look like?
You know, it was so sporadic. 1 minute it's over here, 1 minute it's over there,
Do you think that was because of your experience at 15? That it was so...
Yeah, then there's more to it too. Like, throughout, between the periods, I mean, there's a lot of experiences with shrooms.
Sure.
Yeah. So
yep.
You keep adding to the bag. So
yeah.
It's like, kind of just open to whatever. It's more of like whatever crosses my path, kind of take it as it is.
So did you learn, like, okay, so you're 19 or so, 18 or 19, from Detroit. How long are you there?
11 years.
11 years.
Yeah, 11 years.
In the same area?
Yeah, west side of Detroit. Yep. I mean, it's not as bad as the East, in my opinion. I mean, that's subjective, but it was, yeah.
Okay, so what did those 11 years look like? Like, what are you doing in those 11 years? Are you just going to work and going home, or is it...
IT work and kind of sticking to myself, trying to make money, trying to focus on just growing as a person, breaking through old patterns and old limiting beliefs, and kind of just, a lot of it was stagnancy, being kind of frozen in place. Yeah.
What do you mean by frozen in place?
Not knowing what to do, where to go. Right. Fear. Yeah.
That's a big one, huh?
Yeah.
Did you even know where the fear was, where it was rooted? Like, did you feel like you knew why you were, other than the bullets flying by your head?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been pretty conscious my entire life. Like, I mean, you can go back to memories of, like, being 4 years old, and I had a bunk bed. So I'm on the top of my bunk, and my dad's, like, imagine, like, your dad is pushing your mom towards you, like, point of view, and he just pins her against the bunk bed, and just beating on her. You know what I mean? In moments like that, at 3-4 years old, I can remember being like, oh, this isn't right. This is, like, having
an awareness.
Yes. An awareness that wasn't me,
Right.
Yeah.
Oof. So you're already at that age knowing you're separate from the human experience, basically.
Yes. Which, even just saying that is like, it kind of sparks adrenaline. It's kind of,
yeah. That's home, right?
And this is stuff that I don't share or talk about in front of people. So
okay, well, I hope you're good with it, because this is
I wouldn't be here otherwise. Yeah,
this is our jam.
Yeah. It's more just like, take a breath in and ground.
Yeah. Do you find you stay grounded pretty good throughout the day?
Yeah. And if I don't, like right now, where I'm a little shaky just because nerves and excitement and past memories and whatnot. If I'm not, it's literally, I could sit here and say, hey, Joey, I just need to take a moment and just I close my eyes and then it's good.
Yeah.
And it's full on. It's like I can I don't want to say keywords like transmute, alchemy, but I can switch from one state of being to another pretty quickly. Yeah. Like almost at a snap,
So something you could do pretty much your whole life was come to
yes, but I got in my own way. So that awareness that I was talking about at 3 or 4, it's always been there. So even though I'm over here going, like, it's telling me to go this way, I'm saying, no, I'm going this. I'm tired of listening to you. You know what I mean? I'm going to go. So I knew better, but I didn't do better,
So were there certain teachings or books or something, or was it just basically your own experience and going through it that made you shift? Were there people I'm sure there were people that helped you along the way, but when it comes to your evolution, like your consciousness and your awareness, was it more just trial and error? And
Yeah, I think it's a mix of just life, everything you experience kind of wrapped into this giant ball, you know? I mean, there's definitely been some books and movies and shows that have kind of hit me at the right moment, but it's like when people say, "Hey, can you recommend a book for me? What's a great spiritual book?" It's like, yeah, I could, but yeah, like, where are you at? Like, who are you? Because just let it find you when it's meant to. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing about books for me is I have 1,000 books at home that I could read, and all great books, and it's just like, no, not until it finds me, and there's a reason it falls at my feet, or I'm like, oh, this, or I keep seeing this book again, or this one was off the shelf for some reason because my kid grabbed it off and it's staring at me again. I'm like, okay, I got you.
It has like the perfect message, you know?
Oh, always. Yeah. Like the one of the latest ones I read was the Valkyries by Paulo Coelho. I don't know if you've read that one.
No, I haven't.
Fucking crazy, and it's all about channeling and guides, and I was like, what the fuck? And that's exactly where I'm working and doing, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's just a synchronicity. Yeah,
always. Yeah,
and it's like, that's another thing. You kind of strip that when you recommend the books. You take that experience away, and also you taint the perspective. I mean, first impressions are pretty big. So let's say I recommend like The Alchemist to you right now. I'm like, oh, The Alchemist is the best book. You're gonna love it. And you open it up,
expectations are already here.
Yeah, so now it's gone. You missed the entire message. That seed that was supposed to be planted in that moment, it's gone. So when, let's say, a year or 2 years go by, somebody else says, hey, or you remember, oh, forget that book. I've already looked at it.
Yeah.
Lesson missed, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, big time. I love that, actually, because people ask me that all the time. And it's like, gosh, there's so many books, but they all came at the right time.
Yeah.
Like The Power of Now would have meant nothing to me, at a certain point. But then I was on vacation. I was in Honduras, or it wasn't The Power of Now. It was A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. It was the first time I realized certain things, but it was just the perfect, there you go. Here it is for now. Same like when I dove into Dolores Cannon's work. People were telling me about Dolores Cannon for 2 years before I was like, no. I'm just like, nope. And then all of a sudden the moment came, and everything, the months that had, before me reading the book had to happen for me to understand the book.
Yeah, exactly.
It just brought things together. It connected dots that I would have never connected if I would have read it 6 months earlier. Prior.
Right. Yeah. Which is, it's beautiful. That's the magic right there, is like,
the magic, man. That's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you define the magic? Like, what's magical to you now in your life where you're at? Like, what does that look like?
Magic to me is the unexplainable, where, I mean, I wake up, so I didn't tell you this part of our little interaction. Like when you first reached out, before you reached out, I wasn't aware of you or your content. So I'm talking with my girlfriend about podcast the night before you reach out. And I'm not going to say the name of it or like what it's about, because she's been thinking about it. She hasn't put it out there. We can talk about this in private, but we're talking about podcasts. The next day you reach out about podcast. Hey, do you want to be on my show? I go to your profile, and the exact thing that she wants to talk about on her podcast is on your profile. And it was like the one thing that doesn't match the rest, like it sticks out. And I'll show you and you'll say, like, okay, that's crazy, right? So that was just the first layer. Then the first thing I seen when I opened my TikTok on my For You was that video about your superpower is being able to communicate. It's sharing your story. It's no pressure. It's like taking the expectations off of things, and and then your voice message, the very end, no pressure. And that's not a term. I mean, yeah, it's very common, but it's not something I hear a lot. And I'm a very conscious person. I know what comes into my experience. You know what I mean? So those two things alone were enough to like, okay, but it's that's magical, Then today, I haven't seen one of these in, I don't know, 3 weeks. It's like my sign, right? It's an osprey. It's a hawk. Okay. When it shows up, it's like I've either called there's something I need to pay attention to. There's a feeling. Right when you reached out with all the links, one landed on my house and turned, and it was talking to me. I mean, it was, So I was like, okay, that to me that's magic.
That is the magic. And
that's magic.
Yeah, that's the stuff that when I hear about it, I get fired up. Like when other people have these experiences that I've had, or their own experience, obviously it's unique. You can't explain that. You can't describe those moments until you have them.
Right. And then they won't really even make sense to the other people. It's
But it's, and you say ospreys, and to me it's owls, and I got owls everywhere. Like I got my owl on my arm, and that all happened. The owl started coming to my awareness through my meditations when I was in Guatemala. I spent a month there, a very powerful month, and I hadn't seen an owl probably say 15 years till this year. And then 3 huge moments in my life surrounding where I'm going in my, with where I'm guiding people in their healing and other things with my, I call it career or just my path. Those 3 nights, big nights, I had 3 experiences with different owls. And it had been 15 years since I had seen an owl.
That's magic.
That's magic.
Yes.
And so the one was really cool. As I was driving, I was talking to a friend, and I'm talking about like a big thing that I want to create. It's so big that I'm not even going to talk about it. That's how big it is.
Yeah.
It's that big. And I'm talking to her about it, and I'm like, yeah, this. And she's like, yeah. And I'm turning left at a light, and it just turns green, and a fucking owl swoops right down eye level in front of my car and lands on the hydro pole, the power pole, right beside me. And I'm like, fuck. Instant chills. My whole body's lit up. I'm like, thank you. And I'm like, geez. And then last week, a couple weeks ago, I had sold out a group that I was doing. I was really passionate about creating this group, and I sold it out, and I was really just feeling very humble and loved, and just a lot of emotion. Yeah. And I go on my one wheel. I got those one wheel electric skateboards, and I do this path every few nights. It's almost coming to an end now with the weather. And I go to this one road that I love the most because it's just a really nice road to ride on. And I hear this screeching, and I'm like, what the heck? And right above me, there's an owl standing like right above me, and it's screeching at me.
He wanted your attention.
Oh yeah. I look, lock eyes, flies away. I'm like, fuck. Like that's the stuff for me. Right?
And it's just enough for you to, be aware of it. And then, yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, dude. Like that's everything for me. So
it's like the lion behind you. I'm a Leo. I have a lot of Leo. I was just talking with somebody about their astrology chart and Leo stelliums, and I just posted a story on my Instagram with a full. I mean, it was a video of a lion, which I don't ever really do that. Which
Yeah.
It's little key moments, but it's the magic like that when you not like follow or seek it because you want to let it find you, want to let it unfold naturally. But when you follow that, it's like you said, you were thinking about your project, and then boom, there's the owl. That's your key. Okay, let's pursue that. Every time you pursue that, it's that inspired action. It's where you're 100%. Following your heart. That's where the big moves unfold.
Let's talk about that, because that's one of my favorite subjects to touch on, and I don't think I talk about it enough, is that inspired action. And the difference between that and the grind culture and, the Gary V stay up till 3 a.m. till you can't sleep. Work.
I'm guilty of that.
Right. And I've done it too.
Yeah.
But what do you find, like, what's the difference in those two for you?
It's, again, I don't like the labels, but it's the masculine and feminine, and it's the doing, it's the action versus the kind of sitting back and knowing and accepting and receiving. You know what I mean? It depends on the person and like what's causing them to move like that, but you got to find that balance. I think it all comes down to the balance.
Okay, so that's interesting to me, because I know there are people that absolutely crush it doing it one way. It's just action. I'm not saying it's not aligned, because obviously they're finding their own flow,
right?
But they're going, and it is nonstop, and they might not be healthy. They might not be taking care of their bodies, but they're getting results.
Right.
And then I see others who don't seem like they're working at all, and they're getting results. So do you believe it's both of their core beliefs? Like, I need this and I get success, and I just find the flow and I get success? Or do you think it's more than that?
You mean what leads them to the success in the end?
Yeah, because one is taking a completely different route, which is proven to be, maybe lucrative or whatever how you want to look at it. And the other one is more maybe finding that flow first, finding that alignment, and then choosing action when he feels inspired.
Yeah. So I think because you kind of get into a reality at this point, it's like in like manifestation and magic and like the unseen,
Sure.
you know what I mean? It's like, maybe it's their belief alone. It's not their approach and maybe it's just something deep down,
right.
Their faith that is causing the success. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, I have to work.
Right.
Or that's just what they know. That's what they've been programmed, but there's still that core faith. It really comes down to nobody really knows. You know what I mean? Like where that success, like, yeah, you can put in the work or be in the right place at the right time, or that's a big ball to unravel. You know what I mean?
Wow, and it's all those things that is, as I've grown in my business or in my personal life or anything, it's never just been one thing. Like, obviously, right? It is the right time at the right place at the right time.
Right.
But that usually comes because I followed a nudge or a breadcrumb, like that is right there in front of me. It's like, oh no, maybe this looks good today. And I follow that. And all of a sudden I'm in the right place.
Right. Which is why I think that's where the important thing is. It's not so much, are you work, the left or the right, the mask and the fence, whatever it is. It's, are you listening to your heart and are you pursuing what makes you feel good? What fills you up? You know what I mean? Because it's subjective. It's hard to say because one person that works all the time, they might love it. And then the other one that does the same thing, they might hate it. So it's hard to say.
And those are two different vibrations you're sending out.
Yeah.
One, you're having fun. You're in that, you're loving the work, and one, you're hating every bit of it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it all depends on the person, and there's a lot of layers.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
So how do you find your balance? Like, I know you're pretty quick at grounding and able to find that, but what do you like? What works for you to find your center and to be where you need to be going into anything?
So breath, breathing, because detachment, it's super easy for me just from my life experiences. It's, what if you want to say training, spiritual training, mental training,
right?
Being able to breathe, just taking that where I'm not me. Now I'm here right now on this podcast.
Yeah.
And now I'm not, now I'm
right.
Gone, and that's it. And it's kind of, I choose where I want to place my energy. If it kind of gets out of hand, which it doesn't anymore, because I've just kind of learned to manage it.
Right.
I go step outside. I go sit with the plants in the other room. I sing, I dance or something, listen to music. Yeah.
When you say your breath, is it just simply the breath, or do you have do you follow a certain protocol with breath work or like a Wim Hof thing that you do normally, or is it just your own kind of thing?
I used to be pretty hardcore with, okay, I got to try that. But that was when I first got into it. That's when it's like I was seeking more than letting it just find me naturally. I'm not saying those are bad because they're great. I still use them sometimes when I'm trying to be, methodical. But overall, it's just whatever flows, whatever feels right, Because if it doesn't feel right, then, if I'm sitting there, Wim Hof, his breathing techniques are great. But if it's work for me in the moment or it just isn't, then what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That resonates big time for me and my meditations. I try to meditate every day, but it's when I put a time limit, or I say it's got to be this way or it's got to be that way, that's when things get disconnected for me.
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed is, if I have 5 minutes and it feels right, I'm like, oh, maybe that's all I need today. 5 minutes. I'll put a little timer before a client jumps on or that. And that 5 minutes, sometimes because I have zero expectation, I blast off, and it's just, I'm there, and it's just boom. And then I realize how much time just really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
it's, you know, so I really resonate deeply with that. And I try to have more fun with that practice now more than ever, instead of it being like an hour a day.
And I think that's the key. That's beautiful. And that 5 minutes, you could gain more in that 5 minutes than a year worth of an hour long, you know, session. Like if you sit there every single day, you know, it's
yeah. And then even your location, like if you put this expectation that you have to be in perfect silence or on your meditation cushion, or, you know, and the reality of life is that's just not it. If you can tell yourself to have no expectation and trust that you're going to have exactly the experience you're supposed to have, you can do this on the subway, you know, you can do this on the bus.
Exactly.
And I've done it. And I've had some really wild experiences just closing my eyes for 5 minutes on a transit bus.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because we get too caught up in, you know, it's really nice if you can go into a temple and there's this beautiful crystal bowls playing and you know, you can get into that zone pretty cool. Yeah. But the reality is you can get into that same space with garbage trucks ripping by your house and
while outside. You're doing the dishes.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your spiritual practice, if you have one, or I'm guessing it's probably your own unique kind of, you know, experiment as you go through this. Like, do you have anything that's pretty solid, or is it kind of like evolving all the time?
It's always flowing. It's pretty fluid. Yeah. I don't stick to anything, and I'm pretty like, I'm open to whatever. So like I said, the labels, I don't even like the terms like spiritual, you know, I'm spiritual, and
I get it.
Everybody's spiritual. It's, you know, we're all, you know.
So in a human world, we need labels. So what do we, well, we don't need labels. I think we can understand we don't need labels, but when you're explaining something, like, you think it's just because they get thrown around that you don't want to use them? Or is it just because it keeps you too small in a box? Or because I hate them too.
Yeah, I think they're unnecessary. I think they just add weight. Kind of like, what's the point of it, you know? Because I look at it like this, like, you meet somebody new, right? And they're spiritual already. Like, you're labeled that has no, you know what I mean? It doesn't do anything. I don't know.
Yeah. And then you talked about astrology earlier. Is that something you're pretty well versed in?
I like it. I read charts for people. Like, I'll go online. I can't do it off the top of my head, but I can go online and piece it together for people.
What about other things like numerology or any of those other?
Nothing that I store in here, but it's stuff I branch out and I look into because it fascinates me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about the law of attraction, what you think of that, manifesting, what you think of that. And like, well, let's just talk about that. What do you feel about those two things?
So law of attraction, I think it's just a misunderstood, again, I think that's just a term we've kind of used. It's been misunderstood. It's something else. I think it's something we're always doing, you know, manifestation, law of attraction. It's the same thing. It's magic. It's, you know, being able to bring in your vision into reality, you know. But the problem is that, and nobody can really answer this, are we creating that, or has it already been set? Right. And we're just tapping into it.
Just going to ask you that.
You know what I mean? So it's hard to say. Maybe all this right here was already planned ahead of time, or maybe maybe you just manifested it.
And that's what I want to talk about too, is like, do you think beforehand? Because I feel like we have, and this is my opinion, I feel like there are major checkpoints along this life experience that are pre-planned. That's, you know, the destiny of things, if you will. But I feel like there's just so many roads to these checkpoints, and that's where the free will kind of comes in.
Yes.
Do you kind of agree to that? Like,
I was just having this conversation like 2-3 nights ago. So, you know, those, like a family tree chart, you know what I mean? Where, okay, so imagine the very top where it starts, the first of the family.
Right.
Imagine that is the end result. Like, that is your predestined path, right? Or that's like where you want to go in life. This is how I look at it. This is what we were talking about.
Yep. You
can take any of these routes to get there.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're always going to end up there, but it's that free will. You know, maybe I would have said no to this podcast and it would have branched off to a different one, right?
Sure.
Or you would have never reached out and it would have branched off to a different, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, because that really, you know, when I first started to tap in, you know, after my dark night of the soul and everything else, is like, you know, you start to learn about manifestation and vibration and all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I can do anything I want. And then I'm like, what about destiny? What about these things that I think are just part of this plan or this, like what I agreed to? So you're really messed up. You're like, well, I have free will, but this is going to happen either way. Like, what the fuck? But then I was like, wait, and it was in meditation, and I see these checkpoints, but I see all these beautiful roads. Some going through the mountains, some going through the ditch, some going through the gutter, and then up over the mountain, and same spot. So, yeah,
it's fascinating.
It really is.
It's hard to say for sure, you know, if it's pre-designed or what.
So there's a lot of amazingly gifted people in this always, and Brenna's one of them, and she's saying this is how she sees timelines.
Yeah. So it's like another theory. I don't really talk about this because I mean, so many things can be misinterpreted. And you say the sky is blue, and 500 people say, "Oh, what do you mean the sky is purple?" And you know, and you get thrown up on a. So when it comes to reality and attracting things into your experience, for all we know, it could be like like we have this on the screen right now. Like you have your own and I have my own.
Yep.
How do you know that your reality isn't separate than mine? Like we all think that we're merged in together.
Right.
But what if we're completely separate and we only merge when we decide to? When we're vibrating, we match in some way and we agree to come into each other's experience. Whether it was pre-designed, subconsciously, whatever, you know.
And then we break off completely and not together whatsoever.
Yeah. So you heard the hero's journey, right? You've heard of that, the hero's journey. It's like in every game, it's it's tarot, it's everything. It's I mean, every movie, it's, you know, you start yeah, it's Zelda. It's this shirt that I'm wearing, you know?
Yeah.
So who's to say that we're not all you know, everybody's like, oh, I'm the main character of mine and everybody else is NPCs, right? So right now, maybe we're both the main character because we've merged. But then when you leave and do your thing, you become an NPC again. You know what I mean? Like in your reality, you're the main character in your little square, your little circle, whatever, your wave, your field. Just think about it like bubbles. We're all just floating around in our own little fields until we merge. Or there's so many different theories that you can kind of play around with. It's crazy.
Oh my God. See, I don't know where to go with it because like these last few weeks, especially, again, I'm seeing like, you know, you look outside and things just don't feel real. You've had that lots, not just psychedelics, but just like you could tear the sky with a knife or cut it open and then layers of things coming through and how I've been seeing things a lot through in my mind's eye is while my eyes are open. So I'm seeing a lot of layers in front of me. And sometimes it's like disorienting. I have to do some of this.
So when you say layers, is it like, imagine you're looking at a tree out of your, you know, like your tree line from your window. Yep. Is it like, so when I used to see a tree line when I was younger, it was flat. Now when I see it, I see depth, I see dimension. It's like I can go into the little curves and depending on where I put my focus, it's very hard to explain. But is that what you're talking about?
Well, that's something too. But sometimes I swear I'm seeing a different reality within the reality. Like I'm seeing a different scene in a different level. Like where there's trees, there might be a building. Like
okay.
And then, but what you said there is interesting because when I was where I was living before, it was the rainforest on the West Coast, and I'd go to this forest all the time. And I would find a tree as far as I could, basically through the forest, and focus on that. And as I would focus on that, everything else would kind of change and morph. Like what's happening there? It's almost like a magic eye. You know how we used to have those magic eye pictures that you could just kind of see within the.
Yeah. I call it the wizard's eye. When you let your focus, when you stare, it's like a candle, and then you let it blur out, and things split into 2 or 3. Yeah. It's like, you know, scrying, like with a crystal ball or water. It's the same thing. and then
Oh,
things start appearing, or
right.
you start getting downloads, or like
Uh-huh.
that little circle looked like something that, and boom, there's like inspiration or something, it's,
Mm,
yeah, it's kind of crazy. But again, like, what is reality? How I perceive could be completely different than, the
right.
next 10 people. Yeah.
Sure. And then do you do you dream a lot? Like, do you astral, like, are you
Yes.
lucid in your?
Every night I dream, and I have about 10 years ago is when I started taking it seriously. But
Okay.
I mean, I could go through my phone right now and just scroll for days and day every night, just everything I can remember about it written down,
Okay.
every feeling.
I have a feeling this is a big reason why we're connecting, because I've had this huge pull to dream work. Again, I dabbled a little bit after Guatemala. I bought this book that happens to be on the floor of my this Charlie Morley's Lucid Dreaming. It's beginner's guide, very basic.
Yeah.
Dream signs, journaling, that kind of thing. But how much are you consciously going into your dreams to learn? Like, is that what you're doing in your dream state? Like, are you saying, okay, what can I learn? What can I gain? What kind of knowledge, or what is your kind of intention
So
every night?
it's different. Like, it's like sometimes I have control or influence,
Right.
and then other times it's like something else inside of me, my subconscious, my higher self, or something outside of me
Sure.
says, this is what you're learning tonight. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So yes, there can be intentional moves made, but
right.
sometimes it's like I go in and I'm thrown into a scene that triggers something deep down so that I can heal from it in the
Ah,
dream realm and bring that experience back with me here.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's basically what I do with my clients in hypnosis.
Yeah.
We're accessing basically the same thing, and that's what we're doing. So that's awesome, because I had a friend in Guatemala. He really got he was getting really good at the dream realm, and where we were all just starting to kind of understand lucidity, looking for it, the signs, and then staying calm enough to stay in the dream and not, because I think a lot of us, when we first realize we're lucid, we're like, we're fucking lucid, and we're done.
Yep. We're out
We're
of
done.
there. Yep.
So he was talking about how the first few dreams he was doing the regular stuff, flying, having sex, because that's what everybody does. And then he said one night he was like, one of his guides came through, and he's like, I don't want to play tonight. Like, I want to learn. I want to learn tonight. He said, well, follow me. And he just went on into a whole different, dimension together, and learned a ton about kind of his, what did he say? Well, a ton of his history, I guess, his soul's history, the Akashic records and everything like that. But he said, like, his big thing after that was just setting the intention to keep learning and to keep bringing back this information. And that's what he like obsessed about.
It's powerful.
Yeah. It's almost like, if we're not working on the dream state, or that, we're almost missing out of a huge piece, because we sleep so much, we might as well, set some intention.
Yeah, for sure.
And go learn and tap into who knows what the hell.
Or at least have fun while trying to do it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that. Because
we don't really know what the dream realm is. Like, a lot of people say it's all in your mind, but is it? Like, is my dream realm contained in here and yours is in yours, or are they,
I can't see it being contained. It doesn't resonate to me whatsoever. Like, nothing in me thinks that.
I think it's all connected. Afterlife, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
I think it's all connected.
So do you think when we're done here on this go around, we always find out exactly what it is? Like, do we always go back home and know, oh shit, I knew all this, but just because we're human, we don't?
I don't necessarily know what happens on the other side, but I do believe that the realms that we access in different states of consciousness, whether it's sleeping or, like in a coma or actually passing on, I think they're way more connected than we currently understand.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. Here's a question. Phoenix says, I wonder, has everyone that's had the experience also done acid and shrooms also, or no? Do you mean, like, have we experimented with psychedelics before having these experiences? Is that what you mean? I'll see what she says there. But yeah, those are other, obviously, parts that I've, dabbled in and experienced. And again, are these substances just opening the door to those same realms?
Right.
You know?
Have you ever had dreams that come true?
I don't want to say no, but I don't have anything that really, really sticks out for
Right.
me.
Yes.
And I've only had about, being consciously aware of it, maybe 5 lucid dreams where I was like, oh, okay, here I am, I'm dreaming, and I was able to kind of explore.
Right.
Only 5. But again, I haven't been doing the work. So have you had those dreams like that?
Yeah, and it's the kind of experiences like that that make me question, like, what really is all this, you know? My one of my most recent, it was when I first moved in with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Never had met her dad before, had no idea what he looked like, hadn't really talked about him. And I had a dream that he came, like we pulled into the driveway and the garage was open, and he was in the garage looking through a box of car parts. Then I told her about it as soon as I woke up. Within 2 to 3 hours, he sent a text saying, I need to come over and grab, she didn't even know they were there, a box of car parts for it was like an old Durango or something that she gave him. So it's like, okay, well, I just dreamt that
Right.
before. So, and that's just one little experience. I mean, there's so many. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some of your experiences, because this is the stuff I love. Like, is there one or two like you could touch on right now that really push the envelope? Maybe a little like, because there's all of us here get it. Like,
yeah,
we love this
when I
stuff.
see things in my dream and then I wake up and experience the exact same thing. Like it could be as small as like the most recent one. I was laying in bed and I woke up, but I was asleep. I was still in a dream. Did A, B, and C, fell back asleep. Like I don't know how it happened, but I was like in a double layered dream. So I woke up twice, but I was still in the dream, even though I
Right,
woke
a
up.
dream
You know what I
within a
mean?
dream.
And I did ABC. I did ABC again, and then when I woke up, ABC unfolded. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say. It's like, were you already going to do that? Was that stuff going to happen?
Right.
Did you influence it? Did you manifest it? Was it
Right.
it's yeah.
There's too many layers here, man.
Yeah.
Like, how do we know?
And that's the thing. It like everybody's trying to seek and figure it out, but it kind of comes down to the point where it's like you just accept it for what it is, because you're not really going to find that, like, or you might, but you're probably going to go crazy on the way, you know?
Right. So what's your like, what do you tell people that look for help in developing their gifts, and even like and their ability to tune into themselves and just expand consciously? Like, what do you tell people if they look for guidance from you?
So everybody's different. There's no blanket statement. It really
Right.
depends on where they're at, state of mind, state of like their emotional state, everything.
Sure.
So I get a read on, like, I talk with people like heart to heart before I give any kind of advice. A lot of time it's just listening, because most people don't even want advice. They just want to be heard or seen,
Right.
But it really is stay grounded, stay balanced, because even though, I mean, so many people are trying to ascend, but they can't even, it's like, you're not even okay in your own skin. Like when things get quiet, you know what I mean? Like you can't
Right.
even ground down. It's like a lot of people are just trying to run, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like when you get wherever you're trying to get to, then what? Like you're still going to be the same person that you are now. You're still going to have to fight those same demons that you're fighting now.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe not every one literally, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to that, because I get that. I ran forever.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, I ran forever. I tried being everything I could for everybody else, and wearing this and that, and being in this group and drinking and partying. And if someone just doesn't know where to start, like if someone's like, okay, well, I don't know what the fuck it means to be grounded. I don't know how to sit with myself because I fucking hate myself. Because a lot of us did.
Yeah.
I hated myself.
Yep, me too.
There's still times where I'm like, oof, like that. Like just right now, it gives me
yeah, you can feel it. Yeah.
So those people that are struggling right there, like they don't want to die, but they don't want to live,
Yeah.
Like, what do you tell the ones that just need to start and they don't know where to go? It's too overwhelming. The meditation, even the word meditation is like, no, like,
where do you I ask them what they want to do, what they want to experience, who they want to be, what they want to see in the world. It doesn't even have to, a lot of people look so far out. It's like, just bring it closer. What do you want to see? What do you want to experience in the next 5 minutes, in the next 10 minutes? You know what I mean? Take those small steps. I mean, again, it's so subjective. It's so different because everybody's so unique in their situations, but it's find what makes you feel good. Start there. What do you love? What makes you smile? What makes you laugh? You know, what kind of fills you up? What allows you to breathe and share and kind of, you know, relax, let that tension down.
Yeah.
Not chase, but pursue those things.
Pursue those things instead of the dopamine that you've been like, I mean, how many of us, right? I think your journey was probably similar. The dopamine came from other people. It came from other things. That high that you got, whether it was drugs or alcohol or sex or being wanted or, you know, whatever.
Constant external validation, comfort from things outside of yourself. I mean, I would just tell them that, again, it's so subjective, but
it's so subjective, but it's also simpler than we make it.
It is. It totally is. And that's, it's breathe. It's just, nobody really wants to hear that, you know, like you said, it's like when they're on that edge, it's like, I don't want to hear meditation. I don't want to, but that's what you need to hear. Cause that's really what it comes to. It's like, you just have to breathe. Just breathe, you know?
And in the end, you know, words don't really teach these. You gotta you gotta try, you gotta do it. You gotta go through it. And a lot of us, you know, these people might not be, and it sounds strange, but they might not be in enough pain yet.
I feel that because I'm the one that does, because like, oh, what's the point of life? Is it just a struggle? It's like struggle has taught me everything. You know, one of the biggest things, it's like when I really want to know somebody, and it's not something you can ask somebody up front because it's like society and it's weird, awkward, whatever. It's outside the social norm, but it's like, you know, like how do you choose to struggle? You know, like what sacrifices do you choose to make? They look at you like you're crazy. Like what pain do you choose? Because it's going to be there. So, you know,
well, that's the I think it was Jordan Peterson said something along those lines, is like, sit at the end of your bed one day and ask yourself, what are you doing to bring this suffering that you're going through? What are you doing consciously, regularly, every day? Or, you know, what are you bringing to this space? And when you do that, you'll fucking know.
Yeah.
You'll know. It'll hit you right in the face. You won't like it. You might not like it.
But you'll know. Yeah.
You'll know.
Exactly.
And that's, you know, that's calling yourself on your shit. And, you know, you can do that with a compassionate heart too. You don't have to beat yourself up, because that's not what we want to do. But you want to see it.
Yeah. It's bringing the awareness to it, shining light on it. It's, you walk into a dark room, you're just going to keep running into things until you turn the light on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. It's just people, they don't want to shine the light on it. They don't want to, you know.
Okay. So let's go to that too, because that's huge. I mean, we live in a society where it's everybody's on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication or drinking or drugs of any other kind. And I'm not downplaying that they don't serve, like, I'm sure they have a place, but the pain is your teacher, right? Like,
the experiences,
right?
Yeah.
So whether you numb with cocaine on the weekends or drinking 3 days a week, or you numb with another substance that doesn't allow you to truly feel what's trying to be shown to you, like, what do you tell those people, like, who are consistently escaping?
What are you running from? Those are the type of people. It's a fine line where it's like, you got to be very careful, you know, because you don't know where people really are. I mean, I've had strangers say like, hey, that one video saved my life. And it's like, whoa, I didn't even realize, like, saved your life. Like, whoa. I've had people say like, I'm on the edge, you know, I'm about to end it. It's like, and it's like, you got to tread carefully, because you don't want to be that one person that like says the wrong thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, it's difficult.
And that's what the beautiful thing is about what you're doing, you know, on your social media and just in your, you know, what you're bringing to your community and your family and your friends, is a space for them to see you vulnerable and talking about these things. Because we talked a little bit about that before, is one person, like, it's crazy what your experiences going through the shit can do for someone else who's going through that exact thing or in the same space you were. And they just needed to hear it from some normal guy or
and
normal
they
girl.
could go on and change the
Yep.
world in a way that you never even thought was possible.
Yeah.
It's the ripple effect, you know?
It is. And that's something that I'm more in awe of the ripple effect now than ever was in my life.
Yeah, me too.
You know, a simple smile on the street, as cliche as it is, can literally warp time. Like,
Yes.
like it's insane. You buy a coffee at the drive-through for the person behind you who's, you'd have no idea what kind of day they're going. All of a sudden it switches from them maybe going and losing it on their boss and losing their job, or, you know, like, it's something crazy how simple an act of kindness can shift time.
Yeah. And it's thoughts like that. It's that stream of consciousness that, like, you asked me what lights you up. It's knowing that every little, like, and people say that's a lot of responsibility, you know, like, how do you manage all the but it's a beautiful thing if you just kind of step back and just, like, you know, I'm more capable and I'm more powerful than I thought, you know, when you take the victim mentality shoes off, you know?
Oh, and that's a big one.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a big one. That's a whole other show, I think.
Yeah.
Victim mode. And all of us have been in it. We can, like, I continue to be in it once in a while. Like, you know, doesn't avoid me, or I don't avoid it, or I haven't transcended it, or whatever you want to say. But that is one of the most catastrophic energies you can be in.
And that's why it's so difficult because that ties right into, what do you tell the people that are on the edge? And, you know,
right.
Yeah,
I know. And especially if it's like, yeah, but you're not in this, or you don't understand. I'm like, maybe not. But you being a victim, deciding that you're a victim, takes away everything from you. And you can be in that for a while.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel that way 100%. You can feel all the emotions and all the, like, being punched in the gut or losing and the loss. And I get it. But the more you can just work through that and come back to your power, that's when, you know, because that victim loves to
self-sabotage. Destroys everything.
Absolutely. And that's why I see a lot of society now, you know, about oppression or this and that. I'm not saying it never happened. I'm not saying these things aren't real. I'm not saying you haven't this or that. But when you come back and unite with everyone and say, how do we go forward, instead of going, because we're just putting energy where it doesn't need to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's
because either way, they're going to learn. Like, whether it's from somebody telling them this stuff, you know, the tough love, whatever, or them just trying to, like, force themselves out of it, like cold shoulder, which is kind of like what I did, or it naturally teaching them over time enough pain where they're just like, I'm tired of this. It all comes down to the same. They still, you know, it's the same end result. So
yeah. And I'm sure have you had this in with your journey online and stuff? Have you had old friends that you never would have thought reach out to you, like, and saying, hey man, like, thanks for what you're doing, or, you know, or ask you, like, hey, well, how do I get into this? Or
no, but like I know they're watching.
Yeah. See that there's that too. Right. And that's, I've had a few, and that's been a really cool experience, just to see people who were kind of, you know, in a really rough place, and you wouldn't have even looked at any of this kind of stuff to help themselves. And they're like, wow, tell me more about this. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Right. Even if you don't get that firsthand interaction or recognition, credit, whatever, it's still, even if they're hate watching you from a distance, if they're picking that up, if they're copying you, and a lot of people are like, that's so, I say, please do it, because that ripple effect, they're going to go out, and it's like bees pollinating, you know?
Yeah. I love that. That's cool. Man, I can't believe we ran through that hour, and, like, it felt like 15 minutes, dude.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy, especially because my nerves were up a little bit at the beginning. So yes.
Oh, you were great. Thanks for being here. So there's 2 questions I asked my guests at the end of the show. They've changed a little bit, but I'm going to go with the vulnerable one. If you could share something vulnerable that you may not have shared much about or at all with your audience before, is there something you could share that could bring some value?
Yeah. I've been on the edge more times than I can even count. I mean, gun in my hand, up to my head. I've lost people to suicide, to overdoses. I can't say it for sure, but I held guilt and shame for it for years, because I thought I was the one that led to their death. I've hurt people in ways, you know, that I won't even say. I've seen my dad go through it too, where him and my uncle have wrestled at the end of a bed with a gun, with me standing at the door screaming, please don't, you know what I mean? Whatever you're going through, reach out to somebody, like talk about it, feel it, breathe through it. Don't just hold it all in and wait until the last minute. And then, because there are people out here that are willing to sit with you.
That was beautiful, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And then last question. What does it mean for you to be alive? What does being alive mean to you?
This right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to connect with people that, you never would have connected with, just magical experiences, just being able to choose if you want to go left or right,
Yeah.
If you want to have a good day or a bad day.
Yeah. I like that. Oh man, I'm very grateful to be a part of this magic, and thank you for bringing your light to this space.
Yeah, thank you for the same.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for being here again. We'll be back next Wednesday with Dr. Dan Chenier, one of my gurus. He doesn't like it that I call him that, but he's going to be on here. Ryan, stick around while we end the broadcast. We'll talk in the back studio, and thank you everybody so much for the support. And we'll see you all probably Sunday and Wednesday.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right.